Happy Easter Monday. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, have the ladies with me. Hello, Elijah Akacha Ziviri. How are you doing?
Easter.
Happy Easter.
And happy Easter.
I'm the only one that did not get the brief. Everybody's nicely
wearing our
dressed.
bottom box. Me, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I need to go and pull out an alarm. You know that.
You guys are nicely looking.
We went under our box to drag.
Just till today's Monday and I went to work. I didn't even remember that it's Easter Monday.
Monday.
I didn't even dress like Easter Monday. But go ahead, Nima. How was your week?
Catfish pepper soup I had yesterday. The head was as big as my phone.
Are you serious?
This is harassment.
No. I remembered faster. I was doing Easter. It was a big cooler of pepper soup for my entire family.
I was delivered.
I didn't cook at all. And I received the news of the passing of Principal Ajibola in the morning as I woke up, and it touched me. I still remember the look. You know, when as a student you meet somebody, as if I saw God. So we wrote to him to invite him to LASU then as a Nigerian Association of Muslim Law Students. I was on the ESCO. I can't remember which year. I thought he would not come. Former Justice of the International Court at The Hague.
Yes.
Former Attorney General, former so many big things, mentor from afar. And then when he came to LASU, all our lecturers gathered and we really touched then that, he would show up. I love that he practiced law and he also practiced Islam. That gave me a balance of how to go into the future, just watching him.
Fantastic. He's so resting.
Elegant in Jana.
Hi, Tokwe. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very good. Happy Easter. Easter Sunday was back-to-back events from church. We had brunch with family, my husband's elder brother's family. Had a buffet. It was very, very nice, and I went out of my ketosis, but I'm back today. And then after that, we went to hang out with Lamiju and Adiza Akala. They had this Easter event, and the kids had so much fun. I left the house, and they were still sleeping. I was shouting, David and Daniel, nobody answered me. They were like passed out. It was so much fun. It was one of our best Easters. I don't do outing much, so it was
really? You?
Yeah,
How dare you?
I don't go for people's hosting events. Okay. But I've repented. Maybe you've seen in the past 1 year a different talk because I've been intentional about going out. But today I'm going to be joining the Business and Professional Women, BPW International. I've registered to become a member of the Business and Professional Women International. I feel like it's a community thing that, this community thing, it has to be, so I'm joining BPW. Later in the year, I'll probably try and join WinBiz. Let's just chat. No, I've attended several events, but I'm not a member. I've not been inducted officially. So today, I'm being inducted into Business and Professional Women, officially as a member of the International Body of Business and Professional Women.
Well done, fantastic.
Well done.
Hiding.
Fine. Easter was a family affair for me, and I like it that way. Grandma and the children, they were playing this thing. What do you call it when you draw the squares on the floor and then you're jumping one square to the other? So I think I remember it was what we used to call it.
Hotchcotch, I think it was.
And that's the American hotchcotch or something like that. Anyway, so I wanted to take, So I wanted to take a video. My son just came out and said, this is a no video zone. Please, we need our privacy. So I usually get asked why I put my daughter more on my social media and hardly my son. Even my husband asked me recently. And it's because when we start, by the time we end with him, there are tears, the angry words, and I'm not doing again. I'm like, so I just don't even want any wahala. And yesterday he was like, no freeze zone. I said, I'm going to take a clip of that and post it. So you see the sort of person this child is. He does not like his life out there. Yeah, but, we had fun. For the children, I'm especially happy for them. My children don't really have friends. It's just the two of them. But this year, especially with him going off to secondary school, he's making new friends, he's hanging out more. So I think and I'm more comfortable because they're older, and I feel that now I can release them for a while to go out and be fine.
Fantastic. We had in my neighborhood, one of my neighbors, his birthday was on Friday, so his wife now did pounded yam. Yesterday, Mr. Bafog, we call him Mr. Bamidele, but I call him Mr. Bafog. So her plan was pounded yam and efo. So she did the egusi. she now distributed the pounding to all the houses. So me, I pounded in some my machine, of course. We had 3 or 4 machines working in 3 different houses. So I all just sent
Oh my goodness! Oh, that was so good.
Lots of soup and snail, bush meat. You know, we had a blast.
I love the communal.
Yes, it was fun. It was nice to. I guess I had so much fun that I forgot that today is the real Easter Monday.
Oh, of course.
Did you get free John on Friday?
I didn't get free John.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Very sad. The auntie that gives me, she's in Abuja.
Do you know I've never
Why
had
can you not send?
I didn't send.
She was having so much fun.
It'll be okay. It's all right.
The movie, The Two Aishas. On the 20th.
Nima is on
Nima, there's a new season.
Big screen, Nima. Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations.
We
Please.
premiered the
It's on your
female
page?
cinema. Yes, it's on my page.
Yes.
And I'll be posting more elaborate clips from the movie.
Okay.
For 24th, after the Eid. That's
There will
right.
be a premiere.
Let's go on a quick break. We have to say Nima acting. Only one does not know what hit them. Let's
So-
go on a break and we come back. We go to the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, let's start with the nation. Governors under pressure over security vote spending. Election petitions, Kuka urges judiciary to do justice. Banks, oil firms, others flout stock exchange governance rules. Gunmen kill ASP, injured others at Lagos checkpoint. Osinbajo, Obasanjo, others pay last respects at Ajibola's burial. Tinubu won because of his superb organization, says Sagi. APC asked tribunal to dismiss AA, APP, APM petitions. An attacked Owo Catholic Church reopens months after. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let's start, already talked about it on my banter, but let's just take all the, the acknowledgement of what the former CJ Chief Justice was able to achieve. So the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was at the janaza for Prince Bola Ajibola, and he said that he was a highly knowledgeable man. He also added that his legacy will endure for a long time. He said that he was a mentor to him, as so many, and he stressed that his love for knowledge and education informed his sacrificing all of his savings and properties to establish the Crescent University, which was the first of the kind at the time. Femi Adesina, on behalf of the president, also said that his contributions to the development of our legal system cannot be overstated, serving as the AG and the Minister for Justice at a critical period in the nation's history. His patriotic inclinations, integrity, and passion for service and advancement of humanity will continue to resonate with him. And a lot of other people had plenty things to say about him.
Let's talk about the major headline. So the governments are serious pressure. You know, everybody's always talking about the security votes. How are they spending it? So the federal government have barred state and local governments from operating security votes with commercial banks. According to them, any governor who desires to deploy their security votes in cash must open an account, a special account with CBN, and then withdraw through CBN where it is monitored. These measures are to keep the 2 tiers under close watch of how they use the cash. Now, this was initiated by directive in January by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and they halted the withdrawal of cash, I think, until March 1st. They begged for an extension, but now I think they might have that till May 29. But the point is that the governors would not, according to this directive, wouldn't have the free hand to spend the security vote anyhow through their banks or through their commercial banks. They have to go through the CBN. Now, many Nigerians have always clamored about how this is spent, but governors are still going to be taking federal government to court on this, insisting that the money should come to them to have that control. They're going to fight it, I'm sure, but it's interesting how how we build systems going forward.
Yeah, I have this story. This is a sad story. They said armed men at the weekend killed an assistant superintendent of police and injured other police officers during an attack on their checkpoint at Ikorodu. They said the attackers also fled with 2 service rifles that belonged to the policemen. And these policemen they said they were taken unawares. This happened Friday night at a checkpoint in Emuren Junction, Ikorodu. And this happened 48 hours after gunmen killed 3 residents of Gowon Estate in Ipaja. So they're saying that they're suspecting that these killings and murders have been executed by cultists. They've been on a rampage lately. Some of them have also alleged that these cultists may be working for a notorious land grabber. There's also a story of this cult is going on rampage in Edo State. Anyways, we have the spokesperson for the police command, SP Dane, who has confirmed the incident, and he says investigation has commenced.
Another sad story about killings. Of course, many people already know that there was a major killing in Benue on Friday, Good Friday, and a particular monarch, Chief Bernard Shawa, is a traditional ruler of Nyev District, Guma local government area of Benue State, and he lost 2 sons. He said one of them 25, one of them 35, said that one was just got a job as a civil servant with the state government, and he was about to settle down into marriage. Usually children bury their parents, but he is being overwhelmed by the fact that he's going to be burying his 2 sons. The attackers came in at around, according to them, 9 p.m. on the Friday, and that they set one of the houses on fire. So people rushed to sort of like rescue people from the house, not knowing that they were going to be shot at. And the attack now, they killed people in that moment, and then went to, worst case, they went to the local government education authority, primary school, Ngbam, and that was where internally displaced people were, and opened fire on internally displaced people, killing 36, injuring over 30. And then later, when they took them to the hospital, 2 others died, so they killed 38 people on a Good Friday. Like, I cannot even justify the heartlessness that would have led to people doing this kind of thing. Like, what kind of inhuman behavior would you go...
What's the motive?
What would you achieve from attacking internally displaced persons? Our heart goes out to all of those who lost their lives, and really for the chief who lost 2 sons on the same day.
Really, really sad. Okay, let's move on now to the Punch. 30 marketers seek CBN loan for 30,000 gas stations. Bishop demands justice for 41 Owo attack victims as church reopens. Bandits slash ransom for 85 Zamfara abductees. Federal state lawmakers to get 49 billion naira. FG bars online banks from accessing customers' photo contacts. Asset declaration defaulters may be removed from office. Can governors others preach love at Easter? Buhari Osinbajo NBA mourn ex-ICJ judge. That's Ajibola, Principal Ajibola. Okay, which story
I'll take the picture story. So Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, the St. Francis Catholic Church or Ondo State, for those of us that remember the story, about 10 months ago, that church was attacked. Many people were injured, and so many more even died. And the church had been closed for the 10 months. So it was the first time it's been opened since the attack. The report says that many people were happy. In that time, the government has done a lot in rebuilding. Donations were made by individuals and government, and they have rebuilt the church. They said so many of the people were happy to see each other again. They said they hadn't seen each other since that attack. And some people were, happy to be back. Others were crying. They said that the state government is also building a memorial park, in memory of those who had passed. Some people were saying they're not happy about it. That makes them sad because it reminds them that it will remind them always of what had happened. But I think the government is has good intention, which is, we always complain that sometimes we just move on from deaths and all these attacks so easily. Sometimes I believe it's good to have this to remind us, about our loved ones. The bishop of the diocese, the Catholic Bishop of Ondo Diocese, Jude Arogundade, is saying that it's been 10 months since this attack, and yet no arrests have been made, and we still don't have any information on those who attacked the church, and he's asking that the government should do their best.
Some arrests were made by Amoteco, and there was a clash between Amoteco and the police. Please, they should side you up and not, allow some people escape.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still reviewing Punch. I was going to take the major headlines. So the marketers, the oil marketers, have written to the federal government over the proposal to access the 250 billion naira CBN fund to be able to support them for the establishment of 30,000 gas stations. If you recall, last year, sometime in August, the federal government had commenced the implementation of the CBN 250 billion naira intervention fund for the National Gas Expansion Program. This should help to somewhat assuage the demands on petrol. So they're saying that if the federal government is able to give them access to these funds, they can therefore establish about 30,000 gas stations across the country. And that way, they feel they can support the eventual subsidy removal that plans to happen in June. However, NLC has said that they will wait for the new government to engage them on this meeting, because we had taken a story last week where it seemed that NLC had come out to say that they would not support any subsidy removal without proper funding for the modular refineries and the local refineries. However, according to the president in this report, they're saying that wasn't them. They're waiting for the new government to come in, and then they will engage. They have an official position on NLC concerning the subsidy removal.
So I have the federal government bars online banks from accessing details and data of their subscribers. So you know those online loan app that are on the App Store, that when you join, they then go and access your contacts and all your other details. So the federal government has moved through the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, and they registered 170 loan apps out of the 200 operating in the country. And so Google backs them up by a new policy that said that they would not allow in 4 countries, I think Pakistan, Nigeria, India, and Philippines, Indonesia, and Kenya, any of those loan app companies that do not conform to regulatory rules in those countries starting by January 31st. And they said that they have a new framework called the Limited Interim Regulatory Registration Framework and Guidelines for Digital Lending in 2022 that will take effect starting May 31st. And that requires that all those only apps who have conformed to the rules in their countries can then, be registered on the App Store and do business. And so they will no longer just have free hands into contacts or subscribers. And, those that are crude methods of recovering money will not be allowed anymore. So Google will be helping the government, and the government will be helping Google to regulate.
I want to take the story about bandits. 85 people were kidnapped in Wanzamai village of Safe local government area of Zamfara state. So the bandits kidnapped these 85 people, and they have they have reduced the ransom that they were asking the villagers to pay. They said after they realized that these villagers didn't have enough money, they slashed the ransom to 20,000 naira per person, and they gave the victims till Sunday night to pay the 20,000 naira per the 85 persons. They also mentioned that they wanted the authorities to withdraw the soldiers in the village, that they will not release the victims back into the society until the authorities have withdrawn the soldiers that they put to secure the village and paid the 20,000 naira ransom. Any family that doesn't make that payment, they said they were going to execute the victims whose family couldn't make up the money back to them. They were attacked last Thursday. The military attacked some of the bandits and killed some of them, but the bandits still have 85 persons with them kidnapped.
Okay, Daily Sun. Kuka to Supreme Court, don't disappoint Nigerians. Task Buhari, Tinubu on unity and corruption. You fought a good fight. Keep dreams alive. Priest urges Nigerians. Day of blood, sorrow in Lagos, Enugu, gunmen kill police, injure others in Lagos. 10th National Assembly, groups endorse Kalu for Senate presidency. Enugu APC suspension of Nnamani Chime, others unconstitutional, says legal advisor. Buhari governors Kalu, others mourn ex-Justice Minister Ajibola, 89. Cardinal Okpaleki knocks CBN over Naira redesign. Don't allow economic political situation weigh down your faith in God. Bishop enjoins Nigerians. Easter, Oshimbajo, CGN, Kalu, governors in Ba, others preach unity, love, and hope. Right. I think it was Justice Kuka, the Bishop of the Tokoto Diocese, Most Reverend Matthew Kuka, was yesterday, has said that the general elections scored low amongst Nigerians. He said it failed to meet the expectations of a substantial size of 200 million Nigerians. I'm not sure how he got that figure. Substantial is a heavy word to use, but that was his own position. He said that he was saying doing this message on Sunday, saying that the much-awaited elections, so full of promise, have come and gone. Well, not yet. Some might say the general elections was filled with so much enthusiasm and excitement, but now many Nigerians are looking very lowly and like they are mourning. You know, they look like they're coming from a funeral with forlorn looks, who believe that justice had eluded them. Well, these are
I also took Cardinal Okpaleke, that's the Bishop of Ekulobia Diocese, Cardinal Okpaleke. He carpeted the central bank and said that the Naira redesign policy did not serve any purpose but other than plunge the country into an economic hardship. He also encouraged Nigerians that, you know, yes, this was a badly implemented policy that was in the economy and the hardship of Nigerians, but we've survived worse and we can survive this again and we'll continue to survive. We encourage us to be positive.
More on the Easter celebration and messages from our leaders. We had the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has said that Easter signifies sacrifice and amazing love. And he said that his own message is contained in the scripture, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. We also have Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the government, describe Easter as an important season in the life of every Christian. And he says that there are two lessons for Nigerians to learn, the lessons of sacrifice and legacy. Christ came into the world, gave his life sacrificially for the redemption of mankind. And what that teaches us is that we must sacrifice for our communities and for our nation. So many other leaders also gave their messages of unity, love, and sacrifice.
Let me quickly take the story of the, you know, there's clamoring for who will be, yes, the son of who will be our next Senate president. And a particular group of people, Niger Delta Peace and Development Advocates and South-South Youth, have said that they are supporting Chief Whip Dr. Ighodalo, saying that this is a move that Nigeria needs a just man in the Senate and a man with the audacity of purpose and a team player to oversee its activity. They also mentioned that it would also help Nigerians heal from the feeling like help people from the South-South heal from the fact that they feel like they did not get into any political position because of the presidential aspirants, president-elect, and the fact that there's a Muslim ticket. Having a Christian who is from the South is also going to assuage that region. So those were their strong reasons for defending Senator Ighodalo to become the next Senate president for Nigeria, and they are hoping that the president-elect will support his bid.
All right, let's move on quickly now to Vanguard. Supplementary polls, opposition parties rallied to seize control of National Assembly. JAM to commence 2023 UTME April 25th. Nigerians frustrated by election outcome. Adesanya beat Pereira with stunning knockouts.
He beat Kubit.
Ex-AGF Ajibola dies at 89. And Financial Vanguard, federal government's initiatives on non-oil exports failing. Did you watch the match?
No, I can't.
No, we watched highlights. I watched
highlights. Love the highlights.
It's just the way Nigerians celebrate anybody that, you know, when we celebrate our own.
But you know, Israel is a peculiar character.
Thank you.
He's not every normal boxer. His own, the drama that comes, I don't miss the drama before, drama after. Everything.
Affirmation.
I find it hard to support you because he's such a boastful person. Oh my God.
Like,
he's not a Nigerian.
What did they knock you out?
Which Nigerian is not boastful?
No, please, I'm not.
Vanguard.
So much.
Which story I won't be taking here?
Okay, so the Nigerian Tribune investigation revealed that there are challenges with, let's say, thousands of bank customers have resorted to using
from Tribune. Okay,
different.
tell us a story.
Oh.
Go ahead. Tell us a story. Go ahead.
Payments services providers, and they have money stock. Fraudsters have taken over those platforms. He said there's an instance where someone pays upfront for services and they can't log in into their accounts, they can't authenticate their processes. It's almost as if most of this PSP, that's the payment services providers have microfinance banks, listed within their apps. There are many issues within our banking system currently, and this our cashless policy is causing difficulties. And it seems like we don't have policies to protect citizens and customers from fraudsters. We need the government to look into it. That's basically the story.
I just wanted to say that JAM has moved his dates for the next UTME. They are organizing the mock UTME.
Yes.
And that's just to prepare and test their centers. But for the main one, it's no longer April 29, it's now April 25th. So they moved it back. Nigerians, in case you're watching, please make sure you get updated.
Okay. All right, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, move to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So there was a trending conversation on social media concerning a bill seeking to curb brain drain by mandating Nigerian medical doctors to practice for at least 5 years before going abroad. Now, this bill has passed second reading in the House of Representatives. It was christened a bill for an act to amend the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act, Cap M379, to mandate any Nigerian-trained medical or dental practitioner to practice in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years, being granted a full license by the council in order to make quality health services available to Nigeria. Now, that was sponsored by Mr. Ganiu Johnson, and it's been on the debate on Thursday's plenary, and obviously Nigerians have been talking about it. It's quite hot on social media and on various platforms. Nigeria are asking that this is wrong, it's unfair for the Nigerian legal system to stop, or the legislature to stop them from going abroad for greener pastures, even after being trained abroad and trained in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on this? We're going to open our phone lines to hear from you, Nigerians. There have been both sides of the argument. Some have said it's a great deal to ensure that people stay back. Others are saying it's wrong for you to stop or impede people from their growth. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081-270-53687. You can also call us on 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And why? I'll start with the ladies, and hopefully we can get a few comments on social media so that we can have a robust conversation. Nima, what are your thoughts on this when you heard this? I was sharing with Miriam earlier in the makeup room that I have a brother-in-law who is a medical doctor abroad, and he's doing quite well. He has a beautiful house, has a beautiful car, and, you know, it says when he's with his colleagues, they always just admire, in fact, they envy him. Say, you don't have any loans to pay back. You're just buying houses, you're buying a nice car. How can you afford it? He's like, well, he doesn't have any bills. He doesn't have any loans to pay back. So he's making or any student loans to pay back because he actually got his first degree in Nigeria and did all his medicals here. He went abroad, did the exams, passed, and he's working. He's living the life. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you for helping my point, but my point is also in the middle. So hypocritical Nigerians everywhere. Person proposing the bill, the Nigerians opposing it. Everybody's being an hypocrite. The Nigerian will study here at a very subsidized rate. Yeah. But when they blow abroad, they forget home. They keep saying, that Nigeria, I escaped. I escaped. Nigeria did not happen to me. And then the politician who is proposing and thinking, because we now have a deficit, whether we like it or not. And if we continue like this in a few years, in 10 years, we just might not have doctors again. Yeah. So with the statistics of a doctor to how many number of patients that we have, there's a problem if they keep going. But then the politician that is proposing the bill, his doctor is abroad. His medical history is abroad. And inside this Nigeria, everybody now want to compel some people to stay when they won't stay. I wanted the bill, because I did not see the entire bill. If that bill had captioned that, no Nigerian we also seek medical whatever abroad, it would have really been a relief for me. Because the doctors can be compelled to stay, and if they are also compelled to stay, we will see an improvement. The truth is that in the hospitals, sometimes these doctors have to help out. I don't want to even give details, but when I had one surgery, they were shooting me injection on my spine with the one that was provided for the hospital being substandard. Somebody had to offer within the practitioners that were in the ward at the time to give us one from her private stock that got my... And I could have, that injection for the anesthesia, what's it called, during surgery. It can be, it can be crippling for life. And so we know that sometimes they too out of pocket have to assist.
Yeah.
We know how it's not encouraging with the kind of facility that we have here to practice here. So even when you have the knowledge, your head will just be boiling with the knowledge. You don't have a favorable environment to practice. So when they are doing bill, the bill should be holistic. Right. It should capture everything.
Point taken. Let me come to you, Mariam.
Yeah, so my point is I would just like to read what the national president for the NMA said. But before then, I'll tell you my very first thought when I heard about it. For me, it just came across as almost like an infringement of someone's human rights. That's how I first perceived it. But then I like to also, give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying these are legislators. They are, by standard, maybe better educated, exposed than most of us.
Our government, yeah.
Good. And then maybe they have information that we do not have. So I really was questioning this. In fact, I threw it into my secondary school group, and I wanted the doctors in the house to tell me, and the doctors do not think, they think that this is not a bill that would even go far, shouldn't even be discussed. But let me read what the national chairman, president for NMA says. He says that, first of all, that everybody who passes through the Nigerian, he said that first it will make it illegal to single out doctors for this, because everybody that goes through school in Nigeria is subsidized for everyone, whatever it is that you're studying. So why are you singling out doctors? So he alludes to it being a segregation or selective kind of bill. Then he also said that he mentioned what you mentioned, which is we have medical tourism. That is where we should be dealing from. We should find out why people are leaving. And if it's for greener pastures, why can't you make Nigeria a greener pastures for these people? Secondly, the medical tourism, you have people, just like you said, we have these leaders who are even discussing this bill right now. Most of them travel out to get medical attention. Why then would you not deal with that? If you were to deal with the root cause, then maybe we would not even be talking about keeping people here for 5 years. Nigerians would be willing to, stay. Doctors would be willing to stay. Now, some of the things that I got from some of my classmates is this subsidized rate that we're talking about. The quality of, yes, the education itself is different, but what they have to go through, the hostels and everything that they have to pay for, that's one. Everybody who has gone through a Nigerian university understands the stress of going through a Nigerian university. So the subsidized tuition is there, but how about all the other costs that a student has to carry on their own? Secondly, there's a number of years that you go through this medical school. Most of them do 7 years. Then after that, they do their internship. They said most of them don't get to do their housemanship immediately, their internship immediately, because there are no hospitals taking them in. Some of them stay 2-3 years waiting to get on. Then when you now get into the hospital, they work you for hours. Even my mom confirmed that. She says sometimes she feels really sad for these house masters, I think is what they call them, housemanship students, doctors. She says they use them for hours and hours. They put them on call. That sometimes it will be 2-3 days. That same doctor going back and forth. That same doctor will also need to assist with other things back and forth. That, to be honest, the doctors in Nigeria are not treated fairly, except especially the low-cadre ones. And so it seems quite unfair that having looked at all this unfairness that's happening, that you are now proposing to now keep them for 5 years, which that time that they used to go abroad is giving them an option to just find things a bit easier for them. You do not look at that. You're just looking at how to keep them down for 5 years because it satisfies your, I don't know what.
Okay, so that's one way. That's fantastic. But it's unfair on that. Then also, one of the government is paying that. So, who's unfair? Are we looking at? I'm just saying that there's different ways of looking at this. Because somebody who says it's unfair can also say, me that I'm also using out my own pockets to maintain X, Y, Z, whatever. I'm just saying unfair can be shared around. But go ahead, so let me hear your thoughts on this.
If we remove the hypocrisy from the part of the government, and we remove the fact that the government also pursue medical treatment abroad, if we take that law on its face value and we don't take it from a place of distrust for government, we would be examining. The only correction would be make it more robust, not eliminate it. The correction would be let us make this law more robust. It's like when we were talking about our social media law that time, that, oh no, everybody went against it. But now realizing we should have had a social media law. The reason we went against it was because we're dealing with the person and our lack of trust for the persons that were going to create that law without taking the law at face value. Who will benefit if more doctors stay in Nigeria? It's not the politicians. They don't lack doctors. They can travel. They can pay for good healthcare. The real beneficiaries, if we have more doctors staying here, are the average citizens of Nigeria. So it's not a selfish law for themselves. It is a law that shows we are desperate. We need a solution. How do we keep doctors? But I feel that if we understand that the law from that perspective of these leaders are just thinking, what can we do to ensure we have more doctors on ground? Then we will be able to accept that law and help them refine it. But what I've seen is everybody just attacking the politicians. You have no right. You go abroad. You have money. You now want me that I've just escaped. My child wants to escape Nigeria, not to escape. Many doctors, as in, I know someone that before she even finished her exams, she had already prepared, like, is a month after she graduates like this. Why didn't she go and study abroad? Why? Why? Because we all know for you to get a medical degree in the US or in the UK, you are paying you will spend the next 10, 15 years of your life paying back student loan. So Nigeria, yes, are subsidized for many people, but we have a medical crisis. Are we taking cognizance of the fact that there's a medical crisis on ground and we're looking for how to solve it rather than just throwing stone and throwing the baby and the bathwater away? All
right, so we've heard different perspectives, really interesting conversation. But let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll open our phone lines to hear your own views on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing this proposed bill for Nigerian doctors who are trained here to stay back for 5 years before they can therefore be allowed to go abroad. We're going to be opening our phone lines. You can call us on 08127053687, 09139076948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. We have a few comments. I have one here from engineer Ajibola Tijani, PhD. He says, good day, Murayo. So, to put this unfortunate situation in order, it has to start somewhere in order of priority. Doctors are given priority at the NYSC orientation camp, unlike other graduates, and their demands for welfare is always on the front burner compared to other professionals. Have you ever heard that engineers are planning to go on strike? Are the engineers well paid and their welfare taken care of? In fact, there is no inexperienced engineers that would embark on a jackpot journey because experience is key in engineering. So let us have the statistics of how many doctors, engineers, and other professionals are leaving the country in droves. And if statistics prove that engineers are in shortage, then the same plan amendment should be extended to the engineering profession. That's from Engineer Ajibola Tijani. Thank you for your comments.
You know, like I said, we should, if we look at the crisis on ground and we are looking for how to address the situation, I think that our leaders, when you look at it now, it looks like the leaders are trying to punish doctors. That's the response doctors are saying, that why are you punishing us for your you've not put a system in place. You're not punishing me for trying to escape your system that is stifling me. Why are you doing that? But if we look at the problem the government is trying to deal with, which is a problem that affects every one of us that we use general hospital. We know there's a crisis on ground. We don't have enough hospitals to assimilate the doctors. We're not paying them well. The environment is unconducive. Then we look at how can the government deal with this problem in a way that will not make them feel bad, but will make them understand that this is patriotism to my country before I go and pursue my financial glory somewhere else. But let me first commit out of patriotism to the country that has given me education. You cannot complain about it being unfair and say they should cover other areas that are also essential, but let us look at it holistically.
Let me take Dr. Ijoma from Ogudu. Good morning, Dr. Ijoma. Thanks for joining us this morning. Oh, yikes, we lost her. We'll have to get you back. We really wanted to hear her thoughts because she's a medical doctor, and it'd be great to hear her thoughts on this. Go ahead.
I wanted to say there's no stifling. If you ask me my opinion on this 5 years thing, because even if the doctors graduate, 5 years is a period of time to gain experience. And, to be highly priced anywhere in the world, experience will come into play. I remember my own family doctor who's been here forever, still a doctor practicing in Nigeria and has built his own hospital. He said, once I had an accident and they needed to almost cut off my last toe. And he was saying, when he was treating me, he was saying, when I trained, I was sent to the north. That, Auntie, you are complaining about spirit. There are some wounds that they treated. They did not have the implements to do. They just, they just did it. And that he saw patients survive. Sometimes it's those germs that I'm screaming about that will cut off my toe that would even aid healing. So I'm just thinking, the experience he gathered in that hard condition was something that helped him into he's in his 60s now, into who he was by the time I met him and he was sharing some of those experiences with me. 5 years to stay back in Nigeria and practice is a period to gain experience. All right. Really no punishment.
Let me take Dr. Ijoma. She's back. Good morning, Dr. Ijoma. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. We would like to hear your thoughts because, lots of doctors have been on various sides on this. What are your thoughts on this proposed bill?
Okay, my views on this, it's unclear how they plan to implement this. Because when they say qualified doctors, according to the MDCN Act, that's Medical and Dental Council Act, an unqualified doctor cannot practice unsupervised. So you're given a provisional license for 1 year doing your house job when you have to work supervised, by a senior person. After which you get a license that enables you to go for your NYSC. So are they trying to say that people would spend 5 years and be compelled to work under supervision before they can go for NYSC? Are they going to extend that period? Because, if they are not going to do that, then that means the person does not get that license to practice. So that's what I'm saying, it's unclear. Now, if you need people to work under supervision, where? Because even the 1 year house job, people have difficulties. The country cannot absorb all the doctors that graduate to even do their house job as we speak. Some people have to wait 2 years or so before they get a place to do their house job. So that's another challenge. So it's not clear how they plan to implement this. And it's not just the doctors that are leaving. So does it apply to all the members of the health sector? You have the doctors, the nurses, the laboratory scientists, the pharmacists. These are all people in the health sector that are in high demand. And like I was saying earlier in a different fora, that the nurses are even the highest in demand of all the groups because it's easier for them to move than the doctors. So why particular focus on the doctors? Then
go ahead.
And then the medical NIMSA, one letter that they wrote, not everybody is subsidized in their training. The subsidized people are those that go to public universities. Those that go to private universities are paying 9 million and 10 million and those kinds of things to get the medical training. Would you still also impose this on them? Because they have also paid their dues. Their parents have paid their dues to get them trained.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ijoma. Dr. Ijoma, these are valid positions you put out here. Yeah, so private universities are there. The possibility that the details, we don't know about the details here concerning what you said about the supervision. It could be 1 year, it could be 5 years. We'll get the details when the bill comes out. But let me ask you, when we look at it on all sides, some Nigerians who think this is a great idea believe that Nigeria is one of the most affordable places to have a medical degree anywhere in the world, that it is the government itself provides the facility and universities for lots of young doctors to graduate. And when they go abroad, many of them just take exams and they then begin to practice. Do you think it's fair on the government to do that? That's one. And secondly, even abroad, there's a waiting list a lot for house jobs, residency jobs, getting to hospitals, because I know a few people who are waiting to see which hospital can absorb them. They've been there many years, having to just continue to apply to various hospitals to be absorbed. So this problem of being absorbed is not just in Nigeria, don't you think?
Yeah, so if there are jobs, somebody graduates, your mate graduated 4 years earlier, you're staying 6 years in university to learn, you have to now do house job before NYSC, and then you have to stay 5 more years. No. If within that period, you say 6 years, we absorb you into a training facility. By the time you're done with that period of time, you're being trained by the country, you become a specialist, you're offering that service, and you're even doing it at very minimal fee. They are paying you minimally. So you're gaining that training and you're giving the service back. I'm sure a lot of people will want to stay. But lots of people come out and they cannot get jobs in places where they can further. In the US and a lot of these countries, immediately after their house job, their internship, they get a residency training placement. And it's only after that they can even start practicing. But it's not like that in Nigeria. So people write this residency entrance exam, and 7 years later, they're not able to get a placement to train or to further. And then some of them are forced to go and open their own hospitals when they've not even specialized yet and all of that. So there are issues here, and even when you're training, you don't have the facilities here. They are not paying you what they're supposed to pay you when they are supposed to pay you. And you can't even excel. Very quickly, let me even talk about healthcare financing. There's a new bill now that was passed, National Health Insurance Act and all. And if you see the payment, remunerations that go to doctors and healthcare facilities under that, it's very minuscule. So how can people sustain healthcare on that? We need to increase healthcare spending in Nigeria in order to move towards universal healthcare coverage that we're all pushing towards. So these are things that need to be put on ground in the country. People want to stay back. A lot of these people that are leaving do not want to leave. I know specialists that have left. I am a specialist. I have colleagues that have left. Nobody wants to be a specialist and go to another country and start all over again, because they start practicing and medicine all over again. Nobody wants to do that if things are okay here. You know, if they are safe, there's no safety. People can't take their children without being afraid of being kidnapped and all of those things. So there are so many issues that need to be put in place so that people will stay back and they will stay.
Dr. Jima, thank you so much. We really appreciate you calling
Thank
this one.
you.
We had to speak to a doctor. Thank you so much. That was what brilliantly said. Also, our producer have been trying to reach out to the sponsor of the bill, Honorable Ganiyu Johnson, via numerous phone calls and text messages. We hope that we can get to speak to him before the end of the show, just to give us an insight. Because
why he's doing
especially because Dr. Ijoma has highlighted some details.
that you should be aware of.
Yeah, so those details, we would like to hope that the bill would accommodate and ensure, because it has to be well encompassing to ensure that even if you're going to stay about 5 years, are you going to be automatically absorbed? Are they going to ensure that there'll be hospitals to take you in to work for 5 years at remuneration? So those are things these are details that we need to find out.
There was a public hearing. I didn't hear of a public hearing. We just started hearing.
Yes.
So I hope that there will be a public hearing, well-notified one, so that all the players will be able to come and highlight issues.
Great. So I think we're going to be wrapping up on that. I mean, our guest is here. But on this matter, any more comments on social media before we wrap up on this?
We have one that is a bit lengthy.
Go ahead.
It says, on paper, it's a good policy for national development. Note that the UK recently restricted recruitment of Nigerian healthcare workers based on the WHO examination on the brain drain. However, before you place a restriction, you can either sign a partnership agreement with the beneficiaries, that is the counterpart countries, example UK. In fact, this can be done in such a way where agreement covers a portion of the subsidized fees they benefited to be paid back to Nigeria. Several countries place restrictions on their citizens even when they go abroad to study, and they must return home. Examples are Indonesia and China, and they can sign up an agreement that their national insurance number for UK, as an example, and the NIN to be connected, so it can automatically be deducted via the foreign ministers.
So there are different ways of getting this done. So
that was from Ajibola.
That one?
Yeah, Emmanuel says what is being referred to as subsidy here is simply paying dead cheap for terribly poor service. Compare the quality of medical training obtainable in the US and the UK with the badly battered decrepit system here before comparing the costs.
They still get jobs abroad.
I don't see where the subsidy is what he's saying.
About that. But the person that you condemn what you get here, well, is that same foundation that allows you get something abroad, and then you still condemn it here. So when you come back, talk with two sides of our mouth. It's just unfortunate. Anyway, that's all we can take on this. But we'd still like to hear people's views on this. We're going to keep talking about it because the bill is still being discussed. Just like you said, hopefully there's a public hearing soon, and we can debate and look at all sides of this. But in our perspective, we must ensure that what Tokwe said is extremely, extremely profound. At the end of the day, who's going to benefit? Is it the politicians that are debating this, or you and I who are going to go to the hospital tomorrow and see if there's going to be a doctor available to treat our children?
So that's the real crux of it. Children are also
So we also need to ensure, yes, so we can debate that, but we are going to be the most beneficiaries of this, and we need to ensure that whatever we do is going to be for the interest of the greater good. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guest, Pastor Ito in the building. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So yesterday, Sunday, many pastors were discussing on the pulpit on how to promote unity in this season. It's post-elections, and we're now working up towards the inauguration of the new government, and lots of people are worried about the safety and the narratives, the divisive narrative that's out there. Many men of God have been speaking against it. So joining us on the show right now to add his voice to this is the founder and senior pastor of Trinity House, Pastor Ighodalo in the building. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you. I know this is Easter. Many people are talking about healing and all that, but we're really worried about how divided Nigeria is today, and it's quite pathetic when you listen to different circles, the kind of conversations that is ongoing. You know, people the hate, the division, and you're thinking that how do we begin to heal as a nation? And what roles do you think even the president-elect or the various parties can do for that cohesion to come up as we head towards the inauguration? What are your general thoughts on this?
Well, I think this all speaks to the root and the foundation of the thing or the organization or the assemblage of people called Nigeria. Nigeria is something that was created not by the Nigerians, but by a foreign influence that decided that they wanted to create something for their own benefit. A lot of people don't quite understand that. No single Nigerian really came together and spoke to the others and said, let us come together and form a Nigeria. Again, no group of Nigeria ran all over the others, conquered the others, and brought them together. So there's been ab initio no foundation, ab initio no unity, ab initio no nation that is truly Nigeria by whatever creation. It was created by the British, and the British created Nigeria for the benefit of the British, to get our resources, to make Nigeria difficult to govern by Nigerians, so that they can continue to exploit our resources. The coming government must first of all sit down and have a national discourse, championed in a certain direction. If they don't do that, they will keep begging the question, because the issue of tribe and ethnicity, if not thoroughly discussed, will continue to raise its head, because a lot of people are ignorant, they are half-informed, they're not knowledgeable, they're not exposed. They don't even understand what they're doing in Nigeria.
Some will argue that Jonathan did that already. You know, we had a national conference, especially to address some of these issues that you've just highlighted. So would you rather this new government implement what the national conference came up with, or have a whole new conversation based on these new divisive narrative we're out there?
I think we should have a whole new conversation, because Jonathan, it was just politics.
Yes.
Did a national conference? Where's the result?
I agree with it.
What happened? Who are the people who went to the national conference? How were they chosen? And so on and so forth. We keep begging the question in Nigeria. We keep playing politics. we are not serious, we're not sincere, we're not ready to face the real issues. And until we do that, nothing's going to happen. A lot of people are afraid that if you dig up all these things, it might cause a much more division. So they keep burying them and burying them. But it's like a closed sore. The sore is under. It will continue to fester until you open it up and clean it out. Period.
I had a conversation with Auntie Annie, and she would say that over years, yes, we're not one people. We didn't agree to become Nigeria. It just happened. But over time, we as a people, we've left the divides. We've outgrown them. We've become one. If you look, we've intermarried. We've always existed together. But the division only comes up when it concerns who is in power. So she would say that the political elites usually play the divisions and the differences when it pays them. And so we see them sort of sponsored and, further dividing us. But once election pass, give it a few days, everybody goes back to business as usual. Families will settle, things will go back to normal. Do you agree that, that's how it plays? Or this division, as we see it, truly is still, embedded in our...
If it wasn't there, it won't work. If it wasn't there, it's like two children, they are playing, they quarrel, then they seem to be playing, but the foundation of that quarrel has not been resolved. If it wasn't there, it will not continue to work. If it wasn't there, for example, the last election, some people would have told some people, keep quiet. We all belong here. I can run for office here. The fact that my name is not this and that doesn't mean that I don't belong here. Somebody would have spoken up and challenged it, and everybody would have kept quiet, but nobody could. Everybody was slipping back to their tents and saying, indeed, I am so-and-so. Indeed, I am so-and-so. Because it is still fundamentally there. And it is there because it has not been addressed. In 1966, the army came and destroyed the delicate union called Nigeria. That matter has not been resolved. We had a delicate arrangement. Western Nigeria, Northern Nigeria, Southeast Nigeria, or whatever it was, delicately. The Middle Belt still wasn't satisfied. Are we North? Are we Middle Belt? Are we this? Midwest Nigeria still was agitating, but there was a delicate arrangement, and we're trying to make it work.
Rossi came and just made
Then
it.
the Rossi came and scattered the thing. Gawan continued the scatter, divided us into 12 states by the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
You couldn't talk. Then you posted the man from Nasarawa, became minister administrator in Enugu. Yes. The man from Enugu went to Nasarawa. Everybody kept quiet.
Unity. That was not.
Everybody kept quiet. Tried to do it with so-called, what's this thing they do? Youth Corps.
Yes.
The Youth Corps didn't quite work. Because no leader, no national leader, no nationalist rose up and said, you know what? We have found ourselves here. We must make this thing work. Mr. Nasarawa come. Mr. Zamfara come. Mr. Ajimobi come. Mr. Yoruba come. Mr. Igbo come. Sit down. What are your issues? Let's discuss them. Let's resolve them. Let's agree or let's disagree. Okay. No conversation like that has really been heard. And until we have that conversation again or go back to 1960, which might be difficult because there have been different people given different powers, we are not going to really be able to move forward in Nigeria.
That's interesting. There's something I hear about when you say stories, you say from your perspective, right? I would have said that the NYSC has worked and is working very well. I'll give you the reason why. I was part of an experiment. This cross-section of us Nigerians were asked to come to a round table from different parts of Nigeria, different ethnicities, different religions. And we were talking about, the relationships. And we had this, I will use it, an Igbo man who insisted he would have nothing to do with the Hausa man, and vice versa. But it just so happens that these two people actually knew each other before the thing. The people that called us did not know. He said, but this Hausa man is my friend. I will give him. This was to say, but this Igbo man, I know him. I will, you know, whatever I feel about them generally does not affect my relationship with this person because I know him. And so for me, my question is, what do we need to do? Because I feel that the NYC is a way of getting to doing that, of knowing. What would a discourse, what form would it take to bring Nigerians to know each other so that they can trust each other and then stop looking at us looking at each other with that general view or political view?
The first is to let everybody go back to wherever they think they came from and let them agree where they came from among themselves, whether they want to be by themselves or they want to belong to Nigeria.
So that's agreeing to do a referendum?
There must be a serious referendum. Then when they have finished that discourse among themselves, let them bring from among themselves, whoever they think their representatives are, to come and have a national discourse. When we have that national discourse, moderated by whoever, then let everybody say what they want. I personally believe that having found ourselves together, we're probably better together. But people must understand that.
Yes.
And they must be taken through the process to understand that.
Yeah.
If you don't take them through that process, they will never accept it.
Yeah.
Youth Corps partially worked. If it worked well, you would leave California and go to New York and run for office. Nobody will tell you that originally you were from California. No. Mrs. What's her name? Clinton did it. She left wherever she was, went to Washington, left Washington, went to New York, sat there and ran for office from New York. Can that really happen in Nigeria? Almost impossible. Yeah. She could have run for governor of New York, and nobody would have told her that she came from Arkansas because she fulfilled the requirements for settling in New York and running for office from New York.
Okay, so I know that we're very far from what the kind of democracy we see in America, and you know, like you said from the foundation, what we see as United States of America was people that came together to agree that we want to be together. So, but we found ourselves in a situation where we're one of the strongest democracy in Africa, and they keep saying if Nigeria gets it, it sends a message, and I am worried that the narrative that is moving, and even your conversation sort of buttresses, is that we need to go back to the foundation. For us to rebuild, we need to scatter. And I'm worried that what will happen when we truly scatter so that we can rebuild? In that process of scattering, we might just find ourselves completely scattered. And we might have more crisis on our hand than we think we have now. Because when you go to a Ijebu person, the Shagamu person will say he is not Ijebu, he is Shagam. Shagamu is different from Ijebu. And so no matter how much we drill down to a smaller subset of our society, we will still find someone that will feel like, well, I am Ijebu Ijesha, I am not your regular Ilesha. You know, that people will still divide themselves over and over and over again. So if we go there, we might never, there might be like, there's no point of return. And I remember just a few days ago reading the UK, outgoing UK High Commissioner saying that Nigerian democracy is strong. We're happy to see that we're having succession, and we have the new president-elect, and then we're now thinking of going back to start discussing rebuilding Nigeria. How do you think we can make what we have work in this, like, how can we make what we have work? Yeah, let me put it in that way, because I'm really confused about how to go about it, and I want Nigeria to work.
Yes.
Two reasons. If you have a really nationalistic leader who makes it his priority and goes around every nook and cranny of Nigeria selling this vision and telling everybody what it will benefit them to be part of Nigeria and negotiating with them, it can work. They must love him, they must trust him, they must believe him, and he must be able to fulfill his promises. So he will go to Yankari, sit with the Yankarians, discuss with them, hear their problems, sell them a big vision, give them their space in the vision, and commit to it. Go to Enugu, the same. Go to Abolema, do the same. If he can do that as a priority and they trust him, it might work. Short of that, my dear, we were always different people. We didn't crack up. We were different people. The Benis were in Benin. They came to Lagos. They set up a co. They moved to Dahomey, set up something. They intermarried, intertraded, interfought. And Nigeria continued.
Right. Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing with Pastor Ita. Pastor Ita, I have to come. You've taken us to the foundation, what you perceive as the foundation of this problem. In the past elections, as I said before, many families were torn apart. Friends went their separate ways just because some were for this party, the other party, people were divided. How do we build back the pieces? How do we reconnect back, especially for loved ones, husbands and wives? They couldn't divorce, obviously, but they were throwing daggers at each other in the house on this matter. Friends from high school, loved ones, divided over this political matter. And now they're still divided. Yes, you wanted to add
one more example. Someone tweeted that, these school groups that would have usually have been 20 years and more, and some of them have scattered based on this particular election.
How do we pick up the pieces and bring back love to ourselves?
Well, again, it has to be conversation. That is the truth. And a lot of people became so emotional, largely because fundamentally that is who they were, in spite of what the veneer was. And secondly, because a lot of people are a bit immature and a little bit uninformed. And this is part of what the political class keeps preying on, the lack of knowledge of the people. That's why the Bible says, my people are destroyed when they lack knowledge. And one of the things we must do in Nigeria today is to really educate the people and inform them and let them understand the basic issues of life and the things that we're going through and so on and so forth. So we must begin to have healing conversations, restoration conversations, and this behoves on whoever comes in as the new government into Nigeria to begin to say, let bygones be bygones. Let us stop all these conversations. Let us build a more united Nigeria. Let us build a Nigeria where everybody can do anything they want. And we may need to change some of our laws. Fundamentally, some of our laws, in that anybody who has lived long enough anywhere for 5 years, 10 years, can run for office in that place. And nobody has any rights to call the person this thing. I don't need to go back to Edo State now. To start running from office and so on and so forth. Yeah. I lived all my life in Ibadan and Lagos. I was born in Ibadan. I went to school in Lagos. Since 1982, I've been living in Lagos. Ewohimi, where I come from, I can count the number of times I've been there. Okay? We do have a house there for my father. Even my father left Ewohimi at age 14 or 13 and moved to Benin and moved to Lagos and moved to England and came back to Ibadan. Okay? But now, it's time for election. Me, I'm half Yoruba, I'm half Edo. They say I should go back to Edo States, where I don't even speak the language very well. You understand? I speak Yoruba better than Edo. My mother is from Ife, Okegbo. The other day, Oni of Ife came to my colloquium, and he started explaining to the people that I'm his uncle, and that I'm more Ife than Edo. You understand? Meanwhile, if I go to Osun State now and say I want to run for office, they will remind me that my name is Ighodalo. My name is Itwa Olajide.
They don't care about Olajide.
They say my name is Ighodalo.
I'm afraid of a negotiation and how it will play out because now we are very monetized as the people. So there's something called
monetized.
National cake. So it's the turn of one tribe as against the turn of the other.
Sharing formula.
Whenever the discussion starts, it'll be like, it's our son time. That's why they want to discuss it now. So if any president were to put things on the table and say we should negotiate, would Nigerians negotiate along values?
What values?
Or would we still be on that monetary?
Or selfish,
okay,
yeah.
the resources are here. The Niger Deltas are very passionate about their cause anyway. Have, all these years been clamoring and shouting that we are not as developed as the resources we bring. And, they are using our money to develop Abuja. Why is any state in Niger Delta, why can't we boast of a national or international standard hospital and all of those issues? Would we sit at that table objectively, or would we be thinking along money lines?
It doesn't matter what interest we bring. Let us bring our interest. You can't expect objectivity from everybody, but at least the man can express his interest. The reason why husband and wife quarrel is because they're both not objective. One is protecting one's interest. But let us hear what your interest is. Hopefully you'd find a leader who can be objective. And then he can then say, you know what, yes, the oil comes from Niger Delta, no doubt. But the man in Kano is your cousin, your friend, your brother. Eh? The other day I needed to do something. My brother also gave me money to add to what I had, to do what I wanted to do. That's what we want to do. It's his money, but I need it. So he says, okay, take a piece of it. So this is your money from Niger Delta. But your brother in Kano needs to buy a hospital, fix a chair. Give him 10%, 20% of your money. This was the basis on which we did regionalization. Own your assets, contribute 20-something% to the federal. The federal will distribute that thing. If your brother in Zamfara or your brother in Abuja needs a bit more, let him go to you.
But Pastor, sure we don't need healing. Recently, Governor Wike was in court on the federal land revenue sharing and what was accruing. Lagos State joined him, other states joined him. Sure, we don't need a period where we first of all get our dues before we say, okay, we are submitting.
That's the interest.
Selfish interest. So,
you are in a nation, and if you then agree to be in that nation, there are conditions for being in that nation. Because there's a benefit in being in that nation. The benefits we get is that somebody will do a road from Kano to Port Harcourt so that you can apply that road and do your business. You have to contribute to that road. The benefit you get is that there's no point you having all the money in Port Harcourt and somebody in Benin has nothing because you can't do business with that person in Benin. Somebody has to change the narrative and the thinking about it.
Paint a new picture, right?
You understand? That's how the UAE came to be born.
Taking goes to UAE, because I was going to reference that. You see, we have, I think there are 7 that came together. 7.
Yes.
In this country, I mean, that's what the talk was trying to say. You keep going further and divided. Everybody now wants to say, I'm no more a minority. Everybody wants to be heard. There's so many diverse groups. So nobody who's going to dissolve their own identity to enter somebody's region and say, okay, I am Yoruba or I am Igbo. Everybody wants to say, no, I'm a Shakiri and I own my own nation. I am Yoruba, I own my own nation. Everybody wants to have their own nation. So how low or how much of division, how further can we go?
As deep as we need to go.
The Delta
We go as deep as we need to go into the one human being who says, I am one Nigerian in Itwa's house, Zen and Keke, their late mother. Let everybody express their interest. So Itwa's house will now express the interest within the community, Lekki or VI, where we live. Then we now express, you build it up like that, because that is how it is. Okay, even in the UK and everywhere, it goes down to that granulation. So we should not be afraid to granulate. You know, we need the United States of Nigeria building up from the ground, each person expressing their own interest and assimilated. Then the Ekitis will express, Adu Ekiti, Isenyi Ekiti, Iye Ekiti. They will all speak. Then they will say Ekiti interest.
Yeah.
Abi? Ekiti now will join forces with Ondo and all that, and Oyo, Yoruba interest. Then Yoruba will go forward with Edo, and Zamfara and Kano.
Till it becomes...
Interesting.
Can we talk about the fact that we are living in a very small village, the global village, that has a lot of interest? So there's a part of the foreign interest. We have the Chinese, the Russia, and America. The Vice President Kamala Harris came to Ghana and was pledging 100 million for West Africa. And it's just because it was very clear. Russia is here, China is here, America too needs to show we are here. So is it really our decision? Because we have already signed some treaties and some bilateral relations agreements with some of these foreign powerful countries who we cannot just stroll away from and say we want to organize ourselves in-house. How will we deal with those foreign influences as well?
Well, you've said the question, you've answered it. We will deal with it. You know, because I agreed yesterday to be your best friend, doesn't mean that in 2 days' time, when my son now says, your son beat him up, we cannot now look at that agreement again. We just have to be realistic, you know, and we must really cut ourselves off as best as we can from this colonial and Western influence apron strings. The irony is that Africa is stronger than all these nations.
Yes.
In terms of intellectual competence, in terms of resource,
definitely resource.
In terms of knowledge and understanding. I overheard your conversation about the IT backbone of a lot of banks and all that. Yeah. If you go to Houston today and you took out Nigerians from the medical corps, it will collapse. If you go to London, take out Nigerians from their medical corps, it will collapse. Go to Germany, you do the same, it might virtually collapse. Go to
in Australia too.
Australia, go to Dubai, even Dubai. Yes, there was a time when the hospitals in Saudi Arabia were manned 20-30% by doctors from UCH and Luth. My uncles were part of that emigration at that time. Nigerians are everywhere. Go to NASA, you will find a Nigerian there. Go to the White House,
several.
You will find them there. You understand? We have such intellectual competence that we don't even appreciate ourselves. Not only that, Africa has 40% of the world's resources. 40%. Maybe more.
Largely untapped.
Largely untapped.
Or exploited.
Largely. They put diamond in the Queen of England's crown. They don't have a single diamond in England.
Can you imagine?
That diamond must have come from South Africa. The gold on her crown came from Ghana. The velvet probably came from India. The tea, called British tea, they don't grow 1 grain of tea.
Wow.
The chocolates that you buy from Switzerland came from Ghana or Ivory Coast or Nigeria. We have all this resource. They don't allow us to add value. They had the gun, and they came and took away even our mentally.
So who's the biggest threat? Us from the inside, or the outside influence?
I think the outside influence have kept us disunited. They killed Lumumba in Congo. Yes. They dealt with Nkrumah in Ghana. Yes. They never allowed Awolowo to see the light of day in Nigeria. It was them, right? Because they knew he had serious intellectual capability. Yes. Although he was likely a Yoruba-based person, but he was the smartest. Yes. And anybody can contest it. Yes. What he did is evident. Western Nigeria was leading France in terms of development in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s. We had a television station before they had one in Paris. It was not just first in Africa. It was I mean, the man was a little bit ahead of his time, but the Western powers never allowed him to get to the center, and then trumped up reasonable charges against him.
Yes. I have to bring it back to the elections because, you know, it's what has really initiated a lot of this division that we see today. In your view, and I hate to throw a curveball to this, do you think that elections was free and fair?
I don't think so.
Why do you say so?
First of all, INEC did not keep to its word for whatever reason. This is the basis on which we want to do this election. This is the basis everybody signed up to. That fundamental basis was breached. It speaks to the heart of the reliability on all sides of the outcome.
Somebody said something to me and said that if a picture, right, the picture was taken from the IREV we're talking about, was a JPEG evidence of things people signed that was not uploaded to IREV. Now, if there was a discrepancy between what was uploaded and what was eventually seen, if there was a discrepancy, then we take it to court. Many have said that yes, it was delayed in uploading, but the eventual figure they saw tallied. I mean, everybody that I know that said, I went to my own to go and check on my own tallied. Some said it was blurred, but at the end of the day, so are you saying even though the end result is such that we still saw everything on IREV, the fact that it wasn't uploaded at that moment and it was announced, was that the reason why this election is pronounced unfair?
If every single document was clean, appropriately signed and agreed to, but there are many documents, according to evidence, that had all sorts of mutilations and things like that, makes it further suspect. But the courts will prove whatever it is, if they are able to prove, and if there's enough evidence, you know, that is on the practical, evidential basis. I wish INEC had fulfilled their word. Everybody would have kept quiet by now.
Just after the elections, the Minister for Communications and what's his office again, Pantami, came out to state how many times there were attempts at the INEC website to hack. And it was, I can't remember for a fact now, but it was an outrageous amount of times. Millions of times just before the election. And so in every situation where there's an agreement, there's also room for frustration. As a law student, I know that there's also always room. We plan, then we plan a backup. So is it possible that INEC deliberately worked towards failing, or that there was an hardship that, forced that situation?
You know, when a doctor wants to perform an operation in somebody's brain, they would do a dry run, because they know that once they open that brain, nothing must go wrong. Nothing must go wrong. INEC and Nigeria are mature enough in this election to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Okay, sir,
You do what can go wrong. I'm an accountant.
Scenario building.
You do scenario building. What can go wrong? Meanwhile, you had 3 elections. 2 of them seem to have had no problem on the same day.
I like that point you made. Sir, let me just pause that second. So, the ones that didn't have problems, the House of Reps, I think the Senate, didn't have issues. Going by those figures and how the patterns that we voted, using that data, can we therefore say that indeed, if it worked for that,
what is
the presidency, are the results any different?
They have gone the other way.
They have gone the other way for the presidency, because I saw the Senate and the House of Reps.
It could have, because you know very well that these elections, people voted on personality, not necessarily on party. A lot of people, including myself. I voted on personality, not necessarily on party, because I really don't belong to any party per se. I have my preferences for whatever office. Because I really don't believe in these parties as parties.
Yet.
They're not parties. They are platforms. All of them. So let us look for the good ones on each platform and support them. And that's what I did.
Okay, sir, I wanted to ask this question because we're in a place where it seems that there are a lot of people that still feel, no, the election, this election was stolen from us. And a group of 15 million people are saying that we also voted. Like, our vote is important. And we find ourselves in a position where we're counting down towards the May 29 handover date, and it seems like we still don't have clarity. We have the presidential elect, so a group of people are still feeling like there might be a change in action, and they are going on social media, throwing insults, a lot of social media disturbance that I feel, what would you advise as the right way for people to channel their grievances, their energy, so that we don't
throw the baby with the bathwater?
Yes, and we can still have peace at the end of the day, because we have to live with each other, whatever, after May 29.
Well, you can't prevent people from venting. Huh? We are here now, venting. Yeah. Can anybody come here and stop you? No. Sure. You can't prevent people from venting. And it's good to hear what they're saying, so that the incoming government will know how people are feeling and know where the pain points are. But that's venting. None of them have what they call locus. The people that have locus have done what they should do. Go to court. But it's good. If I'm going to be the leader of TVC now, I need to hear
everyone's view.
Everybody's views before I take my decision. So it's a good thing for the incoming government to hear how the people feel.
Okay. So, being a spiritual leader yourself, and we've heard so much during the Easter period, you know, from different spiritual leaders, and also being Easter and also being a post-election period, how, I wonder, how do you bring the flock back together? Because you have them, they're all Nigerians there with their different leanings and whatever venting, you know, that they may be going through right now. How, as a spiritual leader, are you able to bring the flock together? Maybe political leaders can also learn from how spiritual leaders do it.
Well, you know, what makes me spiritual, like you have said, is my ability to hear from God and my closeness to God. And God, in our belief, is unfailing, is all-knowing, is great. So that gives me a bit of an advantage because my people believe I hear from God. And I can say, you know, what ends the conversation is, thus saith the Lord. Even when I'm counseling somebody, you want to marry this guy, have you heard from God? Once they say to me, I've heard from God, counseling is over. The other question, are you sure you have heard from God? And the only proof of hearing from God is time. The Bible says that when people give prophecies, no problem. With time, let's see if that prophecy is fulfilled. Then you know whether they really heard from God. But having said that, there's also reason and reasonableness in speaking to everybody's sensibilities and so on and so forth. So you do have divisions in church all the time. My minister of music will quarrel with my minister of technical. The technical will quarrel with the holy police. The holy police will fight the security.
Holy police?
Security, holy security. You bring everybody together. The job of a leader is to hear everybody's opinion. So, and then try his or her best to take the best decision for the majority. Not everybody can be satisfied. We need to know that.
Yes.
So as we move forward, I think it was what I said earlier, that there are two parties that have about almost 15 million votes, and that party has 6 million votes. Either way, May 29th, the president will be sworn in. In your view, what are the first things this new government must have, what must do as they come in reconciling and healing our country?
The first thing is to be magnanimous in victory. It is not winner take all. You are now president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are neither Yoruba, nor Igbo, nor Hausa. In King's College, when you become president of King's College Old Boys, you no longer belong to a house. Forget the fact that you were in Haman's house when you became, once you are president of King's College Old Boy. So when I go to my King's College meetings now, I ask them, what house? They say, I say, hi, Johnson. Say, yeah. But if I become president of King's College Old Boy, then I no longer belong to anywhere. I belong to everyone. So all we want now is a president that will try his or her best to do the best for every part of Nigeria. So the issue of it comes from my side, it comes from your side is irrelevant. Because he will do the right thing by each side.
Equity.
And that's the kind of president we want. For me, I don't care who the president of Nigeria is in terms of who he is as a person or where he comes from. To be honest, I'm not even into North, South, Yoruba, Igbo, Muslim, Christian, blah. Deep down, I'm not really into it. It's just that we have to have the complexity of Nigeria. But when you have a good president, you have a good president.
Simple.
All I want is a good president. And the qualities for a good president are very simple. Number one, visionary. What is your vision for Nigeria?
Okay.
Number two, empathy and compassion. The Bible says Jesus Christ was able to heal people because he was compassionate. He never asked you where you came from. Compassion for the people. Number three, self-satisfaction. He's not greedy. He's not going to take half our resource and build houses in Dubai and London and America and hide it under his table and all that. The problem we have in Nigeria now is that a lot of our leaders are more interested in their own pockets and pockets of a few of their friends. Somebody was saying the other day that some leader gave me money to go to hospital, blah, 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 blah. And I was saying to myself, yeah, he gave me money to go to hospital. But the money he took would have paid free health.
Hospital.
Free health for you and your generations to come. We don't want handouts. We want an open space to operate. We want a leader that will be fair to every Nigerian. He's not representing an interest. If we can get a leader like that, Nigerians will stop asking for interest-based leadership.
Let's take a few comments on social media for a wrap-up because we have very few minutes left.
So the leader says, good to see Pastor Ighodalo on the show this morning, but how do you define good? He said, look for the good ones on the platform supposedly parties and vote for them. Dre says, good morning, Nigerians. Nigerians should remember that Jesus died for our sins and embraced love and tolerance. Nigeria shall be great again. Adeniro Adebayo says, you spoke well, but comparing Nigeria with America is wrong. We got divested culture. There's no way Fulani can be governor in Lagos, and Yoruba can never be governor in Kano. We must face reality.
For now.
That's why we
Can I speak to that?
For now.
Yes, please.
You know that America, there's no American. They're Germans, they're Swiss, they're British, they're Chinese. One of the best compliments I got, 1979, I landed in JFK, and one fine girl ran up to me and says, are you American? And I couldn't believe what she was saying. I looked at myself, black Itwa, straight from Lagos or London, landing in America, and she runs up and said, are you American? And when I looked around, I saw a few people that looked like me. America is the most diverse place in the whole world. The most diverse place in the world, even more diverse than Nigeria.
We have to wrap up, unfortunately.
I can poke a hole in that, but we have Native Americans that are crying, but
yeah, they are. I agree with you. And that's part of the oppression of these same colonialists that put Eskimos, Native Americans into camps. Look, these colonialists are our greatest enemies.
We have to wrap up. But thank you, Pastor Ita. I'd like to wrap up with one of the famous quotes from the president-elect, Ajibola. He says that if you don't have the capacity to absorb the shock of a defeat, you don't deserve the joy of victory. And that means that May 29th, whoever becomes president, whoever it is, others must be able to accept the results and then understand that we're one Nigeria and move forward after May 29th, and let's come together as a nation. That's all we can take on today's show. Thank you very much, Pastor Iswa, for coming on the show. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.